Can you talk about this picture, the process, what you have in mind?
She didn't want to get in the water. I remember that. So coaxing her into the water was a bit of fun. I mean, I must have taken 10 rolls of film, I think, this day.
10 rolls. So why do you prefer analog to digital?
Then you're shooting digital, and what you do is you're looking at the model, you're taking photographs, you're talking to him a little bit, and then you stop and you break and you look at the back of the camera. And that connection is broken. It's broken instantly. And it could take you minutes. It could take you 20 minutes to get back to that place where you're connected. Because now the model's looking at your expression. Does he like the photograph on the back of the camera? Did he make a funny face? Is he excited? Does he want to show it? He shows it, but now it's broken again. So that place where he got to is now gone.
What's a good picture for you?
Oh, what's a good picture? It's these old photo books from the 80s. Like, pick up any photo book from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and you still look at them today and you're like, wow, these are great photographs. These are amazing photographs. So the fact that you say it's timeless, for me, that's I take that as a compliment. Thank you.
You're welcome. You deserve it. Would you agree that this is my own definition of a good picture? A good picture is simply a picture that raises question. You want to know more.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. I think it's true. Something that it makes you want to put a story behind the photograph.
You're shooting with 35?
This was on the Leica. Yeah, these were all with the Leica.
So what lens do you prefer the most for portraits?
Oh, it's a trick question. It's tough, but I almost never shoot over 50 millimeter.
It's relating to what you said earlier with the connection you want to have with you want to be close to the model, I suppose. Don't want to be over there with a 2000 millimeters.
When you're a foot or 2 feet away from the subject and you take the photograph, the person viewing the photograph feels like they're 2 feet away from the subject. You can feel that perspective. You can feel the distance. You can feel the emotion and the sort of the intimacy of that moment, as opposed to I'm standing all the way across the room and I have this very compressed image and it's got a very different look. It's got a different connection. I've seen so many photographers in person who get to a set and the first thing they do is they jam the camera right in front of the model's face and they're like, okay, go. And then the model's like struggling and they're stressed and they're trying to make something happen just on an instant with all that. And it just doesn't work. It doesn't work for me. It may work for other people. And
so you work with a lot of natural light. I don't think I saw studio light anywhere.
I use studio light when I have to. And if I use it, hopefully you can't tell.
Nice. Could you say if there is a studio light in one of your picture?
Yeah, I mean, light is, and it's one of the most important things to evaluate and figure out. You know, light really will make or break a photograph. And so, you know, I study how light falls off the subject's cheekbone, where it falls off the face. You can bend natural light. You put your subject in the right type of natural light. So even natural light, there's all kinds. You've got direct light, barn door light, Rembrandt lighting, backlit, all types in natural light. You can find all kinds of lights. You never stop learning light though. Like you just never, you're always seeing something different and learning from people and techniques that you see other people's work. So I love watching it and studying that.
Yeah.
So
one of my favorite lights is the soft light coming from a window.
Yeah.
You have like a window here, you put the model here. You're gonna have like such a duality in the face with beautiful shadows.
Well, scroll to the next image here on this page.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. You know, when I start photography, you're like, oh, to be a photographer, I need this expensive studio light. I need this expense. And then you realize over the years that the best picture is like the cheapest. It's like a window, a camera. You don't need to have like a expensive camera. You need to have like someone that is giving you an emotion. Done.
Yeah.
Do you have like a good memory about a photo shoot to share with us and a very bad memory of a photo shoot to share?
And I get the film back and I'm like, wow, none of these work. None of these images work. And this is like eight years ago or so. And at that point, my work is starting to get better. I'm starting to get more confidence in what I'm doing. I'm starting to feel more comfortable. And then this shoot comes along and I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? What's happened here? And so I just had to sit with the images for, this is the engineer in me. I sat with the images for weeks and I'm like, what isn't working? And I had to decompose the images and figure out what didn't work. And what came out of it was a lot of learning. I'm like, oh, okay. So this is what for me is going to make the subject stand out. And these are the things that you can't do. So I learned a lot. I learned a lot from that session because it's not that I took the opportunity to think about the work. I had to figure out what the hell I had done wrong to not be able to produce the quality of images I wanted in such a location.
Did you figure it out?
Yeah, that taught me a lot. That taught me a lot. I started looking at things a lot differently after that. The good ones tend to be when you really connect. You're on the shoot and you know you're making work that you love. Like you're just in love with the light, the subject, the styling, everything is working, you're connected. As you're looking through the camera and you're framing the images, you're like, "Oh my God, I can't wait to see this image. Like I'm so excited about this." And you're just like it's like just you're getting pumped with dopamine and adrenaline. And I mean, it takes hours to come down from such a high. I mean, you're on such a high because everything's working and those are the shoots you live for.
You're listening to No Filters, raw talks with real photographers. Support this podcast by clicking the subscribe button. For you, it changed nothing, but for the podcast, it changed everything. Hello, Carl Fehres. That's how I pronounce it correctly?
Yeah, perfect. Just like the wheel.
Okay, amazing. So yeah, the reason why I wanted to ask you to do this kind of podcast interview is because one of your image really like inspired me.
Oh, thank you.
And as you can see in my format, analyzing great images, I analyze one of your portraits in the portrait category. And if I'm doing this in this format, it means that your picture is something that I would like to reach someday. So yeah, it's really like for me, it's very high level portraits.
No, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. You deserve it. You deserve it. So can you tell us about your journey to become a photographer based in Paris? Where are you from originally first?
Yeah. Oh, I'm American, so I was raised in Montana, but lived probably half my life in Houston, Texas. So, and I'm an engineer, so I've got a master's in mechanical engineering, and I worked in oil and gas for 25 years, something like this. And I started photography as a hobby 22 years ago now when I met my wife, and she was in a French acting troupe, and I picked up my first camera just sort of as something to do in my spare time, and never really thought much of it, and photographed her. She was in a French acting troupe, so I photographed her play when she was on stage, and sort of all started from there. So the hobby kind of grew and grew over time, and I took a workshop from two people I really admired, and after about 10 years of just kind of shooting people and things and the actors and some of these things, I started getting into shooting models, basically because a lot of the images that I really enjoyed looking at and admired myself were photographs of models from two very talented people, Ryan Muirhead and he goes by Mick Mojo. His name is Jan Schultz. He did just beautiful work, all shot in film, and um, great portrait photographer, just great photographer overall. I liked his. You can see the sense and sort of the gentleness of his images. They were just. I thought they were beautiful. So I followed him for years, and I had the chance to go to a workshop with them. Gosh, I don't know how many years ago. It must be maybe 10 years ago now. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about film and working with models and how they worked in general, and it was great. I really enjoyed the time. But so I was working in oil and gas for years, and photography was more and more of a habit. And I think after a certain point, I just I was tired of that life. And so my wife, she's French, and my daughter, my 8-year-old daughter, she's French as well. So it was sort of always the plan to come to France. And so where better to make a change and pivot in life. So 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I left my oil and gas job and moved to France and switched careers. So now I'm a photographer full time, and that's it. So
Amazing. Can you send me the second one?
yeah, Ryan. So I think what's interesting is they have very unique styles, and they're definitely their own. And I think my work is different than theirs. So while I was inspired by them, definitely I think my work is a lot different than theirs. So. But there's aspects of their photography I like. It's just there's a sensibility, there's a gentleness and a kindness in the photographs. There's an emotion I think that they conveyed in the photos that I really enjoyed.
So you said something very interesting. You said, I admired their work, talking about the two photographers, and then you said, I was inspired by them and my work is different. And I think it's really accurate because in my early days, I met a photographer and he said, if you try to do a portrait like with an inspiration from another photographer, your portrait will be always different because it's you.
Yeah.
Would you
Yeah,
agree with that?
absolutely. And I mean, the last thing you want to do is try and copy a photograph or copy a photographer. I mean, I think you can be inspired by certain elements, or sort of the feeling an image conveys to you, right? But your visual perspective or your visual voice is hopefully different. I think it is in my case. I'm inspired by other photographers. Obviously the greats, Peter Lindbergh, and some of the incredible fashion photographers that have, the older ones, Helmut Newton, and but then Rodney Smith is a big inspiration for me, and his work is really different as well. He's got a lot of whimsy in his photographs, a lot of sort of crazy images that they're very interesting to look at. They're funny, they're amusing, they're serious. There's a story that you can put behind the photograph, and I really really like that as well. So, for me, I think my work is some blend, some weird blend of all these people that have inspired me, and it's hopefully a unique voice that I have.
Yeah, that's very funny because my last interview was with a friend that is a fashion photographer, and he said for the three inspiration, two you just said it. It was Lindbergh and Newton, the same.
Mm, yeah, I mean, that you can list off 5. I've got photo books all throughout my house, and Albert Watson, he's another one, and I mean, there's just so many. There's Guy Bourdon, Steve Hyatt. The list goes on and on. So I mean, you just sort of look at images over and over again or just images from all kinds of places that strike you. I've got saved images in my Instagram account. I I can't remember who said it, but, as you're trying to find your voice, your visual voice, or your style, it's difficult, and it sort of happens over time. It doesn't you don't just flip a switch and go, "This is who I'm gonna be." I think it develops over time, but what somebody said, which struck me is, as you're saving images over the course of a year to 5 years, whatever, you go back and look at those images, and that's sort of that's the direction you want your work to go. And I thought that was interesting. So I look back at my saved Instagram images, and I'm like, yeah, I can see the influence that these photos have on me, whether it's light, color, emotion, um, different elements that sort of touch you. And so each image, you may like an image and go, I really like the image overall, but this one aspect in particular resonates with me. And so you want to put that aspect into your own work somehow, whether it's again motion or emotion or whatever, light or color or feeling. So I don't know. It comes over time for sure.
So your influence came from buying like books from this photographer, watching this, and following these images, and by sometimes it came to your like subconscious, and now you are doing your own thing. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, you you look at work that inspires you, and you just keep shooting. You just keep shooting, and eventually your work naturally goes in a direction, I think. So I didn't, if I mean, if people think I have a visual identity, that's great. I hope I do. It's not something I try and do. It's just something I do at this point. So it's something that develops naturally over time, and it's your preference, it's your taste, it's whatever inside of you is trying to get out. So I think it just happens. I don't look at somebody's work and say, yeah, I want my work to look just like that.
Yeah.
It's more like, okay, these are really cool images, and they sit with you. And as you're taking photographs, maybe some of that, some subconsciously, guide you into a certain direction, whether it's a perspective or an angle or a style of lighting or an energy or an emotion from the model that you're looking for, something like that. So, and it's bits and pieces from dozens of people and photographers that you've seen that sort of inspire that. So it's just this collection of images that it's in my brain now that somehow stick with you. And as you're looking through the lens and you're trying to take an image, somewhere in that subconscious, they're there and they come out. So you're just taking photographs that at some point that are there. So I think that, you have to get past the point where, um, you struggle with the technology or the methodology and stuff like that. So there's one side of the technical part where you're going like, how do I get this look? How do I get that film look? How do I get this light to look like this? And you're working on purely sort of mechanical types of things. The structural part of how to get a certain aesthetic. But then there's a whole other side where you're trying to get an emotion or something from the model or subject and styling and all these types of things. So I think the first thing is you got to get past the technical side, get that stuff out of the way so that that's no longer consuming 90% of your process. I mean, as you're starting out, as I was starting out, certainly, with different cameras, different, whether it was film or digital or whatever, you're so worried about how do I do this? What aperture do I use and what shutter speed and how do all those things mix in and what's the effect going to look like with the final image? And when you're doing a shoot, 90% of your brain is focused on the technical side. So once that's sort of out of the way, which, only comes after, shooting for years, then you start, that stuff's secondary and you're not even thinking about it anymore. You have your way of shooting and you can focus 100% on what's in front of the camera. What's the subject? What am I trying to capture? What's the emotion? What's the framing? And you're really focused now on the creative side of things. So that's at least for me. And I think a lot of that is, it's the engineer in me. Like I had to get that technical stuff out of the way so that the engineering side of me was satisfied. What was harder for me was to focus on sort of the creative and emotional aspects of the photograph. And it took time for me. It took time. I see other people that are not technical at all, and they're like fumbling with the camera, but they're able to take these beautiful images, not knowing how the camera works. And
Yeah.
that kind of blows my mind. So, I'm jealous a bit because that creative side, it took a lot longer for me to develop, I think, than the sort of structural mechanical side of the process.
Quick pause. If you're still watching, it probably means you like this new format. That really makes me happy because I love making this honest conversation between photographers. If you want to support this kind of content, the best free way is simple. Subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment to share your thoughts. You can also share this video with a friend who wants to get better at photography. This helped the algorithm see that this video has value, and it helped me keep making more content like this. Now, if you want to go one step further and actually improve your photo, I made some preset pack, including a bestseller that gives your image a cool retro film style look in just one click, even with photo from your phone. And if you like to learn on your own, I also have a few online masterclass to help you take better photo, improve your editing, grow your Instagram as a photographer, or even start making money with your portraits. Everything I teach comes from real experience, what actually worked for me. But if you are someone who wants to go all in and make photography your full-time job, not just a dream, I also offer premium one-to-one coaching. It's personal, deep, and made for passionate beginners or photographers who feel stuck and want real results fast. If that sounds like you, just send me a DM with the message one-to-one on Instagram and let's chat. And of course, I could keep telling you how great all this is, but it's better if you hear it from real people who already use it. You are now living the dream?
Kind of, yeah, pretty much.
That's so cool.
Right now, I'm working with around 6 clients on retainers. And from these clients, the 6 I see each month, I charge them $2,000 for photo and video.
Nice.
I immediately saw a spike in how many people were seeing my content. Not only was I getting more visibility, some magazine accounts and others started talking to me.
There is a visible improvement on my editing, so that came in after I have taken your masterclass. Since training, I become more confident in editing and confident in shooting because I know what's going to happen roughly in post-production. I would definitely recommend the editing masterclass to anyone.
I felt much more confident. Your courses are great because you can see that you put a lot of effort into this. You can see that they are professionally made and you explain very well.
Tu m'avais dit la dernière fois que Timeless Preset Pack et Streetleaks c'était un des meilleurs preset packs que tu avais acheté, c'est ça?
Ouais, c'est ça, parce que moi j'ai beaucoup acheté de cours de photographe et de presets, mais je reviens toujours au Timeless et Streetleaks, là, que c'est vraiment solide.
Du coup, quand tu as vu les cours sortir, parce que toi tu les as tous achetés, je crois que tu les as...
Ouais.
Qu'est-ce qui t'a fait hésiter avant de t'inscrire? Qu'est-ce qui te faisait peur?
Non, j'ai pas eu peur, j'ai pas eu peur, j'ai juste vu que sorti les cours alors je l'ai acheté.
Ok.
J'ai pas eu peur.
Here's one of the things I like most about the courses. They're to the point, they're direct, and they're about experience. It's not about, it's sharing from the actual experience while doing the steps. I'm very glad, that you shared these details.
You got exposed, right?
When you offered your presets, that really took my photography to a whole nother level. Till this day, that is the aesthetic that I still go to. My eye got interested because I was on a feed and I saw your photo. Oh, that's it. Your preset really elevated my game to the color and aesthetics that I was looking for like 5 years or so.
All right, let's back to it. So you start at first with digital, with analog, right?
My first camera was a digital camera. I bought it was a Canon 10D, I think, or 20D. I don't know. It was like a APC sensor. It was 22, 23 years ago or something like this. And I learned on digital for probably a couple of years. And then, I was taking images that were in focus and sharp and properly exposed and all these kinds of things. And I understood a lot of the technology and of the camera itself and the photo taking process. But I wasn't happy at all with sort of the results of the files, so the pictures themselves. The pictures, I'm like, what makes a good photograph and why do you look at this? And so I took a photography course at Glassell in Houston, which is it's an adult education program attached to the Museum of Fine Arts. And I had a great teacher. She's still a great friend of mine, Amy Blakemore, and she's amazing. And it was a film class, so I picked up my first film camera, and it's hysterical because I was shooting Canon at the time, so I bought the last Canon film camera, and I used all my digital Canon lenses on the old camera, and I went in with that. And everybody else in class is using all these old Rolleiflexes and Leicas and Nikons and things that are really, really vintage. And I'm looking at them going like, why are you using all this stuff? You should use this, great latest technology. And now here I am using stuff that's really, really old. So it's funny. But no, I started shooting film, and Amy was amazing because she would, we'd have these projects where, hey, shoot, you've got to put a little expo on the wall in 3 weeks. It's got to be 12 images. this is the theme. And then the whole class, including her, would critique it. And you'd have to not only take the images, you'd have to develop the film, and then print in the darkroom. And then everything was printed and then put on the wall, and we'd all enjoy wine and cheese, and we'd critique each other's work every 3 or 4 weeks. And Amy was great because she would, she not only taught me how to go through the images, she told me, she helped go through my work, and she selected images that she liked, and she told me what about the images made the image for her. And they were things that I didn't see. Like she had a completely different eye than I had. And so it really opened my mind to a whole different way of looking at things. And on top of that, I learned to print in the darkroom, which for me was, it was transformational. Like printing in the darkroom and having Amy help me print taught me how to edit and post-process files. So, I mean, she really, really, she taught me how to properly, I don't know, make a black and white print, which translated into the digital work I was doing as well. So I was able to much more effectively get the look I wanted from my digital files, at least in black and white. Color was a different story that came much, much later. But yeah, so that class, I took that, I think, for 3 years at night, and that was great. That was really, really helpful.
So you said you were doing post-production in the black room?
Yeah, well, I mean, so for class, we would shoot all film, and we would process the film, and then, we'd create contact sheets. We'd look through the contact sheets. We'd select the images you wanted to print for the review, basically. And then we would spend, a week or two in the darkroom printing those 10, 12 images. And, when you're printing a single image, sometimes you spend, sometimes the image would come out within the first hour and a half. Sometimes it would take a whole night. You're in the darkroom for 4 hours working on one print to try and dodge and burn and get the effect, get the contrast right, and all these things. And it was really great because you'd go in the darkroom, you'd make your print, your hands smell like chemicals, and you're listening to music the whole time, and you're in this other planet. You'd get the print, go back outside. I'd show Amy, she'd look at it, take off her glasses, and stare within 2 inches because she had bad eyesight. And then she'd go, no, you need to try and do this and dodge and burn this and bring this in a little bit. And again, that process over 3 years, it really taught me, I think, a lot about the way that I now edit. So without that class, I would have probably been.
Could you define for the audience what is dodge and burn?
Yeah, sure. Dodging and burning. So dodging and burning is literally just adding and removing light from certain sections of the photograph.
Yeah.
So if for example, you've got an area of the photograph, like a light piece of skin or maybe a shirt that's white, and it's really overblown and it's too bright compared to the rest of the image, you'd burn the image a little bit more to make it darker. So you'd add light. And if an area was too dark, you would dodge light. So you would actually remove, you would reduce the amount of time that part of the photograph, that part of the paper was exposed to light, and thereby bringing up the blacks a little bit and making them a little less dark. So dodging and burning is the way that you're able to modify basically the exposure of very specific areas of the photograph.
Yeah, exactly. I remember I took a class from Serge Ramelli, which is a French photographer that live in LA, and in the class he said something very interesting, and this is very true. He said when you have an image, the image is more interesting when there is part that is dark and when there is part that is lightened. And an image that is completely dark or completely lightened, you can make it better by just doing some filters or over here, doing a little bit of dark in that wall if it's a landscape or street photography.
Yeah.
And it makes the eye going like appreciate more the aesthetic.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, an overly bright area, especially in an area of the photograph that's not important, can distract and bring the viewer's eyes to that section of the photograph. And so, I mean, there's all kinds of tricks. What I really love is looking at old books where you can see some of the master printers mark up old photographs. And it's insane the amount of work they went through. I mean, it's like +2 seconds here, -3 seconds here, and they've like got 20 different areas of a photograph. I still remember a photograph of Muhammad Ali, and he's punching, and
Yes.
it's insane because it's like there's like 15 areas of the photograph that are dodged and burned to get the final image, and this is master printing. And today, I just think that art is lost by most. Like it's really it was incredible. And you know, I'm sure film and digital is more it's more dynamic today. So maybe we have fewer limitations than the old film stocks had. I don't know, but master printers, you know, 20, 30 years ago were insane. I've got a friend in California, LA, Neil Bloomquist, who he prints a lot of my work now, especially my color work. And again, his skill is just his skill for printing is off the charts because he's been doing it for 30, 40 years. I mean, the guy's printed for he printed for Helmut Newton, you know.
Nice.
He's printed for Lindbergh and all these masters, and so I
And
mean,
he's
the guy's
printing for you now.
he's been around. Yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah, it's awesome. So
Okay, so let's go a little bit into your work. So I'm gonna share. I selected 3 images.
I'm nervous to see which ones these are.
What?
I'm curious to see what you select.
Obviously, I selected this one because
Mhm.
this is one picture that I analyze in the in the other format I do. So can you talk a little bit about this picture and this photo shoot? What the process? What you have in mind? Is the result like exactly how you want it to be? Is it less better? Is it more you were very positively surprised? Can you tell us about this photo shoot?
Yeah, I mean, so I love water, number one. So any chance to shoot around water is for me is exciting. This was shot at my friend's ranch, Courtney Lay. She lives in Texas, or she lived in Texas. I think she's in Florida now, but she had this pond with a nice wooden jetty, and I thought this is great. Let's go shoot there. And I don't know, I've got something about the vintage vibe in general. So I've got mood board after mood board set up with like 70s and 60s looks of all types. You know, whether it's swimwear or just you know, like normal old style stuff. So the swim cap for me was something that I wanted to try. I bought this off of Etsy, I think, years ago it was maybe a 70s swim cap. It was real. And the suit was vintage as well. So Caitlin, I'd shot with her a couple times and so we had a good rapport. And so we headed out there and I I didn't have the swimsuit series in mind. You know, there was no series. It was just this is just another shoot for me. We were shooting near the end of the day, so the light was gorgeous. The jetty was actually full of a bunch of other stuff. So, you know, part of my focus was to simplify the photographs and really focus on certain areas where there was no complexity in the photograph. So, you'll see, I think in a lot of my work that, I try and reduce, you know, get rid of any distractions in the photograph. I try and make everything fairly simple to look at. She didn't want to get in the water. I remember that. So coaxing her into the water was a bit fun. But, you know, the location was great. The light was amazing. And since she and I had worked together, we just had this great rapport. And so we just had fun with it. My daughter, who was maybe 4 at the time, was running around playing with the other kids in the area. And I had some friends with me, hair and makeup stylist uh, and, and Pam was there, assisting and we were just having a good time. So, we had different ideas for posing and I could show the whole shoot at some point, but you know, this image was one where again, we're just, you know, I must have taken 10 rolls of film, I think this day.
10 rolls.
Yeah.
Which is how much pictures in total?
A lot of them were the Pentax. So the Pentax is 10 photos per roll. And then the Leica, I didn't shoot too much with the Leica that day, unfortunately. I did a bunch more black and white, but for me, the images were much better in color. So I don't know, it was 100, 120, 130 images total, I think.
I want to say something about what you just said. You said the color was better than the black and white. How do you what is the condition, because sometimes in my experience I don't feel anything with a picture in color, then I put it in black and white and boom. And then the other way, sometimes I feel like, yeah, black and white works, but I like the color. How do you choose exactly?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And honestly, for the first, I think 18 years or so that I've shot, really until, this set in this series was probably the first time I started getting comfortable with color. It's still something that's difficult. Like, I think it's difficult to get colors right, but when they work, they work. And so, for me, it's as much as it is about color, it's also about the absence of color. So it's about the harmony of color and what the color can add to a photograph. So, in this photograph, the colors, they all match up. They all sync up. There's nothing distracting. You don't see any colors that are, like if there was some weird shade of pink or maybe, purple or some weird funky color in here, it would completely shatter and break the harmony of the photograph. But, in this photograph, the color of the water, the color of the swimsuit, the dock, and then the white and sort of the skin tones, they're all in harmony. And for me, that's really important. So in a lot of the color work that I do, for me, it's something that's really important is to try and match the color of the environment with what the subject is wearing and the subject, herself, himself, whatever, the subject in the photograph as well. So, as much as it's about color, it's also, about the absence of colors, and so you want all the colors to be in harmony and to add to the photograph, to add to the power of the photograph. I mean, if you're depending on color to make or break the photograph, it's not a good photograph. But if the color can add to the photograph, then great. So in this photograph here again, she's got a wonderful stare into the camera. It's something I work on is that connection with the subject, and that's one of the reasons I like to shoot film is that you can stay connected to the subject. And she and I were just in sync, and we were having a good time, and we talked about the mood that we wanted, and the look, and the sort of the overall vibe of the set. And she did it. She did it great. And so she's staring at me, I'm staring at her, and we were connected through the camera, and that's all there. So, again, without that connection, the color would be nice, but it wouldn't make or break the photograph. So in this case, the color adds to it. And it wouldn't have been as strong a photograph in black and white. And I know that because I've got black and white versions of this. So, I chose the color.
I want to. So you said you like film because you can make this connection with the model. And can you say why? Why a film than other?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, with a film camera, you're not looking at the back of the camera. So when for me, part of the process of taking an image with a subject, with a model, is to build that connection with that person. And, so normally when I start out a shoot, the camera's on the side. We're sharing a coffee, we have some chocolate, we're sitting down there talking, and you just talk. You talk about anything. You're building a relationship with this person. You find out about this person's past, what they do this for, what they're doing now, how's school, how's life, all these kinds of things, and then you talk about different things, and then you finally get into the shoot. But after about 20, 30 minutes or so, you're at ease, you're relaxed, you're just, like the nerves are calmed down, you're you're connected. I've seen so many photographers in person who get to a set, and the first thing they do is they jam the camera right in front of the model's face, and they're like, "Okay, go, 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 go," and then the model's like struggling, and they're stressed, and they're trying to make something happen just on an instant with all that, and it just doesn't work. It doesn't work for me. It may work for other people, and I know in some circumstances you don't have time, but for me, I like to take time and build that. And so you spend all this time building this connection with the person, and you get on the same page about the shoot. Hey, this is what we're going to go for today. Great. You talk about that a bit. And then you start shooting. And imagine you're shooting and you finally get to this wonderful place where you're connected with the subject. And then you're shooting digital. And what you do is you're looking at the model, you're taking photographs, you're talking to him a little bit, and then you stop and you break and you look at the back of the camera. And that connection is broken. It's broken instantly. And it could take you minutes. It could take you 20 minutes to get back to that place where you're connected. Because now the model's looking at your expression. Does he like the photograph on the back of the camera? Did he make a funny face? Is he excited? Does he want to show it? He shows it, but now it's broken again. So that place where he got to is now gone. That place that you work so hard to get to where you're connected is shattered. And it's just destructive. So with film, you don't have that opportunity. You're not even tempted to. You're just photographing. You're looking through the lens. You're connected with the subject the entire time. And when you take a break, it's a break. And then you connect again. You talk some more. Even on the break, you're communicating and you're talking. So, but you're in this place with the subject, and you're focused on the subject. You're not focused on what's on the back of the camera. And for me, at least as part of my process, that connection is what gives you the ability to take photographs that have some level of emotion or feeling in them. It's much easier. There's a model I shoot with here a lot in France. Her name is Sarah. She and I, when we photograph, we're so connected that I can change an expression on my face, tilt my head, squint my eyes, just do something a little bit, and she instantly understands what I'd like to see, and she changes, and she's mimicking me, she's mirroring me, and I don't even have to say a word. And it's insane. And so again, when you get the camera and that this instrument is there and it breaks that, it's just it destroys that whole connection, and that for me is just it's no good.
Amazing, really interesting answer. So I saw on your Instagram you have other picture of that photo shoot, I think. Yeah, I guess it was the same day, right?
Yeah. Same day. I've got a bunch. In fact, I'm pre-releasing a zine next week on the series. It's going to be a zine. It's my first publication. I'm making a zine, a magazine.
Nice.
It's 64 pages. It's going to be quite large. It's going to be glossy, thick pages. And there's work that I'll put in the zine that I haven't shared yet. So
do you want to tell the audience where they can see that?
My Instagram profile will have it linked. My website, I'll put it for sale on the website. We're going to release it on May 22nd. There's something that's coinciding with it I can't talk about just yet, but yeah, I'm very excited about that. But yeah, this day, it started the series for me because the images got me pretty excited. I was really excited about the work that day. I didn't expect that.
Nice.
Thank you. Polaroid. Yeah.
Polaroid. Nice. Okay, so the second picture. So yeah, this picture I really like too. I think it's I feel definitely an emotion here. I like the way things are in the picture. I like the fact that there's like kind of a real light projector with the light from outside that just coming right above her head, making like some shadows under the chin, and also the kind of a coat. I don't know how to call it. And
for coat. Yeah.
And I don't know what to say in English. Like carreau right here, like this add like 60. You know this?
The tiles.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a beautiful place. The bathroom was gorgeous. I rented the Airbnb, and the bathroom was one of was one of the reasons, because I thought it was the tub was so cool, and the tiles were so beautiful, and the light from the skylight was really promising. So I was really excited to shoot this room in particular.
Amazing. So are you looking for Airbnb? Like you look at all the picture and you're like, oh, I want this Airbnb because I want to do a shoot, or it was just for you and the plus was to have this?
No, I rented this one through Peerspace, and which is it's sort of like Airbnb, but it's by the hour, and it's made for photographs. So this is somebody's home, and
Oh,
they spent
really?
a lot of yeah.
Can you
This was
can you say what is it? I think I am interested, and a lot of photographer will be interested. What is it?
Peerspace. Yeah.
Peerspace?
Yeah, I never used that in the US. I used more Airbnb and rented overnight or two, a couple nights. But here in Paris, I use Peerspace often. Um, and yeah, they've got some good options for studios and for apartments that are rented for a number of hours for the express purpose of photography or videography or whatnot. And sometimes it's somebody's home and they rent the space out, and sometimes it's a dedicated space that's rented out by the hour. So, but this place was beautifully designed by the owners who live there. One's an architect, I think, and the other's a designer. So they had just it was an incredible location, and I was very excited to shoot there. So.
What was the intention with that photo shoot? Did you have like a precise mood board? It was like more a spontaneous photo shoot, or?
So this particular one, I was working with a new stylist for me at the time, Mathilde, and a very talented hair and makeup artist, Maya. And we had the intent, and Sarah, of course, Sarah, who I'd shot a few times. So this is the Sarah I was talking about before. So we talked about submitting to a magazine. So, this was more sort of fashion inspired. It was fashion inspired. So we had a lot of different outfits that the stylists put together. And again, we styled the hair and makeup to be more vintage inspired. So you can see her hair here. It looks like something from the 70s or 80s, I think. And Maya's really talented at doing that type of look. So yeah, our goal was to get this in a magazine, and it was. We got this featured with I think 10 other images in Flanell magazine last year.
Amazing! Congratulations.
Thank you. I guess 13 images. Yeah.
And yeah, I love that picture. So yeah, this picture looked like from 70s, 80s. I love the lines, the building behind, the way she stands, like very elegantly. It's really cool image.
Thank you. Yeah, I was, it's so again, the same hair and makeup stylist, Maya, she's great at doing especially hair in that look that I like. So again, you can see that hairstyle it could look vintage, I guess. It looks simple. It's funny because this is one street behind the apartment I'm living. And so this is I walk through here once, twice a day, every day. So, we were doing a shoot and we used my apartment as a base, and everybody met here, and the model changed clothes and we did hair and makeup in the apartment, and then we just walked through the streets that I live on. And so I knew the area very well, and um, who doesn't like leading lines? And the model, she was incredibly talented. So, we just had a good time walking around the area and taking different images. Had her running through areas. I think if you click through this later in the set, she's running by a couple people in the street. Yeah, this one here.
Yeah.
And that was kind of fun too. It's fun because everybody's, when you get a camera out on the street, especially when you have a small group of people like, hair and makeups and the stylist with you, people tend to look around, so you get a lot of attention on this. And so it was it was tough to try and get these two gentlemen not staring at the model or at us. I think they saw us and then we're like, okay, we're just going to go straight by here, but I had to get the image. So
Is it you're shooting with 35?
This was on the Leica. Yeah, these were all with the Leica. So
what lens do you prefer the most for portraits?
oh, it's a trick question. I my most used lenses are 28, 35, and sometimes 50. So I tend to I was shooting 35 most of the time for many years, and I love that focal length. I've started shooting 28 more often because I think it gives a little bit more dynamic look, a bit more fashion look, where especially if you shoot underneath, that things are a little stretched out, a little distorted, a little bigger than life. And then, for portraits, 50 is always very nice as well, especially when you have a big area. So I've taken some images with the 50 that if you shoot it the right way with the subject, the right distance in a big spatial area, it can even look medium format if you do it right. So I like that look as well. So yeah, mostly lately the 28 and the 50 are the most ones I used.
Lately, but before it was 35.
Yeah, and I still love 35 stuff, but I almost never shoot over 50 millimeter. Like I can't remember the last time I shot over. Well, I did a beauty shoot for the zine, and I used a 75 on the Leica, and that came out well.
It's relating to what you said earlier with the connection you want to have with you want to be close to the model. I suppose you don't want to be over there with a 2000 millimeters.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it. And I think when you I think Ryan Muirhead told me the story once, but it's when you're a foot or 2 feet away from the subject and you take the photograph, the person viewing the photograph feels like they're 2 feet away from the subject. You can feel that perspective. You can feel the distance. You can feel the emotion and the sort of the intimacy of that moment, as opposed to I'm standing all the way across the room and I have this very compressed image and it's got a very different look. It's got a different connection. So that comment that he made really stuck with me, and I find it to be really true. So yeah, I prefer to shoot 28, 35 at the most. Even when shooting inside, I shoot those a lot. And I think it does. It makes you more connected to the subject. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, that's not the optimum for looks and perspective and distortion of the face. Those things don't matter to me. I don't ever look at the images and go, oh gosh, I think she's distorted, or it's a funny look. It's for me they're great. So people that I always see these videos on YouTube and they show you all the different focal lengths, and I understand what they're getting after, but taking an environmental portrait or something where you can see the landscape and get that connection is much more important. So I think you can create really dynamic images and shoot with a 28 or 35 and take a portrait, and that's okay.
Yeah. I completely agree. So why do you prefer analog to digital?
Well, I mean, okay, so we talked about the connection, and that's something I figured out later. To make a long story short, basically the result that I get from film straight from the lab is the way I want the work to look most of the time. So, I've got several really nice digital cameras, and most of the time they collect dust, and they're great pieces of equipment. But the photographs that come out of the digital sensor they're very sanitary. This is what I saw. This is what you see in real life. And Kodak film in particular has got, decades of color science behind it. And, it's designed to make skin tones look amazing and contrast and this and that and the other thing, and colors, the color palette. So Kodak's done an amazing job for decades to get color science down and to really optimize the way people look, and it works. And so I get a digital file and I've got to go and spend an hour on the computer. I apply some presets, or I make my own presets, and I try and match the colors as best I can. And I do a pretty good job of making a digital file look like film. I don't enjoy the process of editing digital files, and the results are never quite the same. They're never quite the same. So skin tones, still, I prefer what I can get out of film, especially film printed in the darkroom on color. in color. It can be insanely beautiful. For me, it's the highest level of quality that you can achieve, period, is film printed. Sorry, I've got construction in the background here, but is film printed in the darkroom. So digital is, it's great in a lot of places. I mean, you can tether it, you can show the work with the client right away. You get more megapixels, more detail, more dynamic range, all those kinds of things. But the aesthetic is never quite as pleasing for me. And so for me, when I shoot film, drop it off the lab, the next day I get scans, the scans come back, and they're about 90% the way I want the final image to look. So I make some tweaks to certain colors, and that's it. I'm finished. And so for me, the process is really, it's easy. On top of that, I think that, film has got such amazing dynamic range in that, negative film, it's near impossible to overexpose it. So you can overexpose color negative film or black and white negative film by like 5, 6 stops, and it doesn't, like, the colors shift a little bit, but that's about it. And so imagine you're shooting a subject and that subject is backlit, which is a gorgeous look, and you expose for the face, which is on the dark side of the image. On a digital file, you've got to sort of struggle with bringing the light on the face up to a degree that you like, and then not blowing out the highlights, and then doing that in a way that it doesn't look like HDR, like some weird HDR photograph. Film, you never lose the highlights, and so you could be shooting into a backlight situation, exposed for the face that's on the dark side, and the face is properly exposed, and the background, which should be overblown on a digital sensor, is not overblown on a film file, and it just looks beautiful. It looks incredible. And so that's another advantage, is that shooting backlit on film is just something for me that it's unique. I think it looks gorgeous.
You make me want to shoot film.
You should try it at least.
Yeah, for sure. I want to try at some point, for sure, like 100%. But talking with you, I kind of understand more why. There's like this mysticism of the black room. It's kind of like a whole process of, I'm talking about the early days without digital. You have this camera and it will result in a print which is like kind of magical in a way, and you come from this process of doing the chemicals and everything, which I really never did this. Just I'm a early photographer from this age, modern age. For me it's digital. I went into photography because I saw an ad with the first ad with the iPhone, and the fact that you have a camera with you all the time, I was like, this is the best thing I can have.
Yeah.
Having a camera always on me. And I completely get this.
Well, so my advice to anybody starting with film is to, one, learn about exposure, and the fact that unless you're looking for that underexposed look, which that's a look. It's a look. It looks great. It's a style. And I've seen a lot of great photographers. Period does a great job. All his stuff is underexposed and it looks beautiful. But unless you're looking for that, overexposed by a stop or two, and then have your film developed by a professional lab, a lab that uses Noritsu or Frontier scanners. Don't try and scan it at home to start with, because if you're starting out, you don't know what your files are going to look like. You don't know what your film is going to look like at the top level. And so Frontier and Noritsu scanners are going to give you better results than anything you can scan at home with your digital camera and Negative Lab Pro or something like that. So do that first so that you know what film is capable of. And then if you want to experiment later with making it cheaper and scanning at home, go ahead and do that. But start out with, this is the best I can make it look, and you want to make sure that there's nothing you're doing that is sort of causing issues. Am I exposing it correctly? Did I shoot it right? Did I screw up the camera somehow or whatever else? Get that stuff out of the way so that you don't worry about it. But so overexpose the film, send it to a professional lab. Somebody like in the U.S., Indie Film Lab is great here in In Paris, there's a lot of options. I use Publimod. There's a place in Spain, Carmencita, all great. But make sure that the lab uses Noritsu or Frontier, and have your film professionally scanned. And then a good lab will let you work. Like Indie. One of the things I loved about Indie Film Lab is that when you become a customer, they ask you to send a couple images to them as references. And they say, what do you want your colors to look like? What do you want your contrast levels to look like? What's your look? And then they assign one scanner to your work. And so every time your work comes into them, it's the same person who's working on your stuff, and they know who you are, especially after 2 or 3 jobs. And if you don't like the way the scans come in, you talk to them on the phone, you talk to them by email, they make adjustments, they send you the new version, and then you're off to the races. And that's amazing. That's just absolutely amazing for me. So I've got the same relationship with the lab here in Paris. Publimod, they're fantastic. And so build that relationship with the lab is really, really important. But, the different results you can get out of scanning, when you scan a film negative, it's sort of analogous to converting a RAW file to a JPEG file in Capture One or Lightroom. So imagine the scanner who's scanning your film has got that level of control over the scan that comes off the negative. They've got that much control. And it's tremendous amount of control over color and the shadows and the highlights and the contrast levels, all that kind of stuff. So.
And there's something that would scare me in analog is that, if I have a job or I know I have to do something, I have to have the results, and I will take the picture and I will never know because I cannot see it if I have it. So it's kind of scary.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, when you're shooting commercial jobs, sometimes you just have to shoot digital. And I'm glad to do that too. I do shoot digitally. I shoot tethered with Capture One. One of the cameras I have is it's a Hasselblad H1. It's an older one, and it's got, I've got a film back for it, and I've got a phase 1 digital back. And so, you can tether with the digital back, the client can see the images, and then when you're kind of happy with things, you slap the film back on and you take maybe the same images again in film if you want that look. So you can do that. But you shoot both. And I mean, for a lot of jobs today, even model test shoots or what have you, sometimes I'll shoot both. I'll shoot digital and film. And then you've got the film images to use as reference for the edits on the digital files. So you can try and make them look as close as you can.
Interesting.
So that often helps. Yeah.
How would you describe your style in a few words?
That's a tough question. I don't know. How would you describe it? I don't know.
I would say it's vintage for sure. It's cinematic and timeless. Which is
like
the best thing I can say about the picture is these words, honestly, for me.
Like I like those. I like cinematic and I like timeless. That's great. That's what the last thing I would want to shoot is something that, you look at the image in 10 years ago. Well, that fade is past, that fad is past. So HDR was all the rage for like 2 or 3 years, and everything was like these crazy colors, and you could see everything in the shadows and the light, and it was all HDR. And I just think that's the most awful look in the world. So I would hate for my work 10 years from now to...
Can you define HDR for the audience? I completely agree with you.
HDR, high dynamic range. And so it's like you can take multiple exposures of the same image and you combine them into one. And you sort of get this where, the exposure in the shadows and in the highlights is level. So it's all the same. And the image just looks fake. It just looks like something generated out of a computer.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not what your eyes see. And so for me, I prefer photos where, they look something like what your eye sees in real life. And HDR just looks rendered. It looks fake and rendered. And for me, it's just off-putting. But that's my style. Other people like it. That's great. But yeah, I mean, the fact that you can pick up any Peter Lindbergh book or Helmut Newton or Albert Watson or whatever else, these old photo books from the 80s, like pick up any photo book from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and you still look at them today and you're like, wow, these are great photographs. These are amazing photographs. That's what I want. I don't want to, do some weird color grading or do some weird style that's just going to be out of fad or out of style in 10 or 15 years. So the fact that you say it's timeless for me, I take that as a compliment. Thank you.
You're welcome. That's you deserve it. Which photo from your portfolio is your personal favorite, or the one that moves you the most or reflects the most your work?
I don't know that it reflects most of my work, but my favorite one is going to be the first image on my feed. So the one of Caitlin in the pond. Yeah, the one she's in the water. Yeah, right there, that one.
Because you told us that you like water a lot.
I love water, but there's an emotion in this photograph that of calm and peace and serenity, and I like the colors. I like her emotion. I like the feeling. I like the simplicity. And it's a photograph I never imagined I would take or could take when I started. It feels different, and so it's yeah, no, it's funny because I remember she didn't want to get in the water, so I was like, no, you have to get in the water, and so I sort of remember the process as well, which was the exact opposite of serene, because she's jumping into this cold water that it wasn't quite as blue as this looks. That's the magic of I think printing in the lab, is that water looks so beautiful. In real life, it was a little murkier, a little greener, and she wasn't too excited to get in there, and so she was a bit unsettled, and so the fact that we captured this moment, I think, is really cool. So yeah, I love the image. And this image started the series for me. So this is it's my first series. It's sort of the first body of work that's consistent. And again, I'm releasing a zine on it here in the next week. And so this has got a special meaning for me.
Really cool. I think we already talked about this, but I want to ask you if you have like a specific answer to this. What's a good picture for you?
Oh, what's a good picture? It's I'll go back to the class I'd taken. So we're doing these projects where you got to put 12 images on the wall, and Amy was funny because she's like, you can't take a picture of a model, or you can only have one picture of a model or a baby or an animal, because everybody likes a picture of a model, a baby, or an animal. So that's cheating. So I kind of go back to, if you've got somebody in front of the camera who's a model, somebody like Sarah, it's impossible to take a bad photograph of Sarah. It's really pretty easy to take a beautiful photograph of somebody like Sarah. What's difficult is to make an interesting photograph. An interesting photograph where there's something that connects and captures the audience in a way that makes them want to look at the photograph for a while, whether it's something whimsical, it's something funny, there's a story in the image, there's an emotion in the eyes, there's a connection that the audience, the person looking at the image, looks at the photograph and says, wow, I want to look at it further. So if you can get somebody interested in looking at a photograph for more than just 2 seconds on Instagram scrolling through, that's a good image. And how to describe that, there's not one way to do it. There's a million ways to capture an audience. It's difficult to do. It's really difficult to do. But yeah, that's what makes a good photograph, is something that really captures an audience.
Would you agree that, yeah, completely, like 100% agree, you have to have, like today, you have to have a picture strong enough aesthetically, emotionally, that is a scroll stopping for people. Like they scroll all day and they're like, oh, this picture.
Yeah.
Would you agree that this is my own definition of a good picture? A good picture is simply a picture that raises question. You want to know more.
Yeah. I like that. I like that a lot. I think it's true. Something that it makes you want to put a story behind the photograph.
Yeah.
And everybody's story and interpretation is going to be different, and that's cool. Like you ask 5 different people, what does this photograph mean to you, or what's happening in the photograph, and they all say something different. That's awesome.
Absolutely, I completely agree. I experienced this with my first exhibition. I took a picture in Vietnam. it was like good lines and good like background, but I took the picture, and without a subject, the picture didn't have an emotion. And when I asked my friend to go in the middle and put like the Vietnamese hat like that, I took the picture and I was like, oh, that's way better. Then I look at the picture in color in my computer. It's like, it's okay. Then I put in black and white, boom, like completely another world. And I got an exhibition, and when I go into the gallery, the person that was hosting, she said, Kev, there's 4 person that wants to talk with you. I'm like, okay. And facing this picture, 4 young boys were saying like, man, you took that picture, you have to tell us, what is the story? I feel like I'm watching the time passing. Who's this person? And I didn't think about all this when I took the picture. I was like, yeah, it's gonna be better like this. And then all these 4 person having like a different storytelling of their own.
Yeah.
That was unbelievable. It was like an eye opener for me. You do a picture, you put it out there. The interpretation will be like.
But then you get the fun of looking at it and asking yourself why it's so engaging. So, and that's a fun process as well, sometimes images on Instagram will do better than others, and you sometimes it's just the algorithm, but sometimes it's because people just like a particular photograph more, and you have to go, why? What was special about that? Sometimes I'll post an image that really does really well, and then there's other times I post an image that I really like, and it's nobody else likes it, and I'm like, you look at it and try and figure out why. So that's always fun too. So I'd love to see the photograph that you're talking about. You have to share that.
Yeah, I can show you. It was this one.
Yeah. I can see how in black and white it's the light coming off the hat. It separates the hat out and the subject out. That's really cool.
Yeah, and you see that picture in color? I didn't like the green. I didn't like. I think it was like not good, But I was like, the composition is good. I don't understand. And then black and white.
I'm guessing in color that it was really difficult to separate the subject. The subject wasn't separated, but in black and white, because the subject is black, and then especially with the hat, you've got the white, the bright lights on both sides. He is now completely separated from that background. So with color, probably you saw the color and it would blend in. So I think it's separation. It's subject separation. It's beautiful. So it's a great job. Beautiful photograph.
Thank you very much. So can you walk us through your creative process from concept to post-production? When the first idea comes, like from let's say, I don't know, like any photo shoot that you want to talk about, like you have an idea, then what do? You do like you create a mood board, you contact models, or you think about a model first, or how do you?
Yeah, it's not all a consistent process, but a lot of times it'll start with a mood board. Usually it starts with the mood board and a location. So I get inspired by locations. You see a particular location and it'll start a thought process. So I always look for very interesting places, interesting apartments. The one in the bathroom, there was a location I shot in Versailles that was really, really cool. And, so that sort of starts, and you get a vibe from the location. Is it modern? Is it vintage?
So do you look online? Do you look online for your location, or you just see a location when you visit something?
Both. It's both. A lot of times I'm looking through Peerspace to look for interesting apartments. If I'm stuck inside, if I'm traveling around, I'll take notes. I'll take an image. I'll use the GPS location and start a note to keep sort of like a catalog of locations that are interesting. In the streets of Paris, there's location after location. It's pretty amazing. And then I'm starting to travel more around Europe, so I'll do the same. Google Maps if you have to. I'm setting up a shoot now in Italy, Lake Como. So I'm
I love
trying
Les
to learn.
Comment.
Well, good. If you've got some advice of where to go, I'm looking there. But yeah, I mean, when you haven't been there before, it's a bit tough to look on the computer, but you have to do your best. But no, I'm inspired by location. So a particular location, if I find something that's interesting, that'll typically start off a mood board for me. That and then
You know what?
and
I
if you've
think
got a
I
style,
yeah.
like the style of clothes, I like vintage stuff a lot. So there's some vintage clothes that I'm working with the stylist to locate right now. And once we find them, for me, the style just screams, this needs to be shot with horses and Camel cigarettes and vintage lighters and sort of that hippie vibe from the 70s, that sort of laid back vibe. And so I'm looking for a horse corral down in Chantilly and then you try and find the right model that's got kind of that look and maybe the hairstyle that matches that or can be added to that as well, that can embody that. So sometimes it's a location that starts something, sometimes it's the clothes that set something up. So you're like, oh, I really want to that style of clothing is really interesting for some reason. So, okay, where would I want to shoot that? And then who would fit that style of clothing the best? And then sometimes it's just a model, you get a model and this model is like, inspiring, their body of work is inspiring. And you're like, what. Sometimes you work with the model and say, what do you want to do together? If it's a collaboration, what are you interested in creating? And if you can come to some, common ground or arrangement. I mean, typically if you're talking to the model, it's because you like her stuff or she likes your stuff or both, hopefully. And then you can come to some common ground
Yeah.
and then build off that. But once you do there, you've got to set up the clothing style, the hairstyles, the general feeling of the kind of like the vibe, is it a fashion shoot? Is it something more editorial? Is it something more personal? Is it portraits? What type of vibe are you going for? And then from there, you can pick the cameras that you want to use in the film stock.
So you work with a lot of natural light. I don't think I saw studio light anywhere.
I use studio light when I have to, and if I use it, hopefully you can't tell.
Nice. Could you say if there is a studio light in one of your picture?
Scroll down. Let me see. Let's. I'm trying to think of one. I'm sure there are. Yeah. The studio shots. There are definitely one. So scroll up a little bit. No. Keep scrolling up a little further. Go up.
Up.
Yeah. A little further. Yeah. So those studio lights right there. Go down a little. Yeah. Down. Yeah. Those two with the two girls together and the one with the that's studio light and that's studio light for sure.
Uh-huh.
But this doesn't look like my typical work.
Yeah.
And this is more fashion. This is fashion.
Yeah.
This is fashion.
Nice. That was in New York.
No, that was here.
Ah, okay.
That was here in Paris.
Okay. Thank you for your answer. Yeah.
Yeah. No. I mean, the shot with her in the fur, that could have been shot with studio light. I didn't have to use it. I used natural light. She was in the bathtub laying flat. So see that the bathtub image you liked? She's in the bathtub laying flat and I'm standing over her between the light and her. So that's all natural light.
Yeah.
The one with her, just her face covered in fur. That's the one I'm talking about.
You mean this photo shoot, right?
That photo shoot, but go down to the one on the bottom left. No, keep.
Oh,
it was right. Yeah, right. Stop right there. Bottom left frame.
Bottom left here.
Right there. Yeah. So that was taken in the bathtub.
Oh wow. Okay, I couldn't tell.
Natural light.
Wow. This is really nice picture. I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, light is And it's one of the most important things to evaluate and figure out. Light
Yeah.
really will make or break a photograph. And so, I study how light falls off the subject's cheekbone, where it falls off the face. I put them in the right place. It's something I study very, immensely. It's the first thing you look at is when you're looking at a location is like, where do I want to shoot this person? What type of light do I want to shoot that person in? And, I've got friends, in town, Jack and Anna, and they do amazing work, and their preference in light is very different than mine. And, I love the work they do. It's not my preference of light, but, I really appreciate and admire their style of light. So, but the way they set things up is completely different than mine, and I think that's great. But, yeah, I'm looking for very specific types of light. I tend to like softer light and directional light.
You mean natural
Um,
light?
well, you can bend natural light. You put your subject in the right type of natural light. So even natural light, there's all kinds. You've got, you know, direct light, barn door light, Rembrandt lighting, backlit, all types in natural light. You can find all kinds of lights. When you're outside, you're getting reflective light off of certain buildings. Um, there's open shade, which is an amazing light outside that gives you this nice soft look. Even on a bright sunny day, you just get on the north side of a wall that's running east and west if you're in the northern hemisphere, and the sun's coming from the side and you're in shade, and the light's amazing. And so there's all kinds of light. Even though it's natural light, you can do all kinds of things with that. So
Yeah.
um
One of
and
my favorite lights is the soft light coming from a window.
Yeah.
And you can the position. Let's say you put the model, you have like a window here. You put the model here. You're gonna have like such a duality in the face with beautiful shadows.
scroll to the next image here on this page.
Yeah.
That's
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the windows right to the side of the frame. Yeah.
Yeah. This is like one of when I start photography, you're like, oh, to be a photographer, I need this expensive studio light. I need this expense, and then you realize over the years that the best picture is like the cheapest. It's like a window, a camera. You don't need to have like a expensive camera. You need to have like someone that is giving you an emotion. Done.
Yeah. So I've got 3 beautiful Profoto lights that I have, and they travel with me on shoots in case I need them. So if you get into a lighting situation where you're like, I don't have good natural light or something else, they're an emergency backup. And so there are definitely pictures on my Instagram account that are lit, but they're lit in a way that you can't tell it looks like natural light, because I'm bouncing light off the walls, or I'm shadowing light, or I'm reflecting. So it's my friend Jack. He's brilliant with light. He worked as an assistant at one of the best studios in Paris for years, and so he's learned and seen every lighting trick from every great photographer that's run through Paris in the last 10 years. And so he's amazing at doing this, at both taking away light and adding light. So one of his favorite light modifiers is just a big black board where, you're taking light away and adding shadow into other places, because he likes to add something dynamic. And so he's got all kinds of lighting tricks that I'm still learning from. He's an amazing light technician as well as a photographer. So him and Anna do a great job. You never stop learning light though. Like you just never, you're always seeing something different and learning from people and techniques that you see other people's work. So I love watching it and studying that.
Yeah, like you were talking about the black kind of wall with how do you call it? Yeah. I experienced with a photographer when I was assistant for Chloe, the brand. I was there with this photographer, and for the jewelry, he put like just surrounded by white polystyrene walls.
Mm-hmm.
So you can like not see anything about the team, about the place. and he just had to delete himself in Photoshop, so we cannot see his camera on the reflection. So yeah, I like, my experience was not with black like you said, but it was with white.
Yeah.
And this is,
I mean, it's amazing what you can do with a reflector or a board, black, white, silver, and or something that, you know, light will go through. So I mean, there's just so many tricks.
yeah, exactly.
The trick is to see the light that you want in the subject, and then to be able to modify the source somehow, you know, whether it's artificial light or natural light, you know, how do you modify it? What modifiers do you use to get the light that you know, from where it is to where you want it to go, and then to know how to make those changes. That's the secret. You know, whether it's moving the model or putting something in the frame, or not in the frame, but in the room between the light and the subject, or around the subject, that'll make it change. So, and I'm constantly learning new tricks. It's so much fun.
Do you have any rituals, or I think you already said a little bit, because you said that you need to talk 30 minutes with the models first. Do you have like specific methods, or like something that you want to share for new photographers out there, how to break the ice maybe? Or
I mean, yeah, it's you know, don't when you get to set, especially when you have a crew, you know, so imagine you've got a hair and makeup artist, and you've got a stylist, and you've got the model or two models, and you've got the client or whatever else. You need to spend time with the model. You need to spend time building that. So, I mean, get the logistics stuff done, get the lighting and or the studio set. Get the stuff you need to get done quickly, or get it started. But then spend time with the subject, connection with the subject that's really connected. You need to build that connection with the subject. And you do that before the camera gets picked up. So, you know, you make the subject feel at home, comfortable with you. You talk about the project, the feeling you're trying to convey, the feeling and the spirit of the shoot. And you let the model sit with that for a period of time, maybe while they're doing their hair and makeup or whatever else, so that they can think about things, share the mood board, go through the mood board, but do that. The last thing you want to do is they're disconnected. They're sitting with a hair and makeup stylist, and they have no idea what the shoot's about. And then they jump up in front of the camera, and you're just like, go. And it's just kind of this sudden jarring thing. So just spend time with the subject, because the subject is the one that you've got to connect to. A personal, this is anecdotal, I guess, but 95% of my shoots start with a Polaroid image. So the first image I take is a Polaroid. And I don't know why that is. It's just a habit, I guess, at this point. Maybe it's good luck. It's also a really cool camera. So the camera that I have, I'll show it to you. It's kind of an icebreaker, you know. It's kind of like, hey, this is going to be a fun shoot, you know. And so, you know,
nice.
This is the camera. And so you sort of take this thing out and you unfold it.
Nice.
It's a subject of conversation. So again, it's a way to sort of knock away the fears a little bit. You know, if people are a little bit nervous, it's a way to break the ice, you know. So find a way to break the ice, find a way to make everybody relax, give them something else to think about. And for me, this is just a trick to do that. You take a Polaroid, you get done, you let the model peel the Polaroid apart. And when they see the Polaroid, you know, and they pull it apart, there's just that excitement, because it's just it's so neat. Let me try and find. And these are just two. I've got like 3,000 of these things in my.
Yeah, nice.
You know, and
can you put it a little bit close to your face, because it's blurred?
Right.
I think it's blurred because yeah, the background is blurred.
Hold on. Let's see. I'll turn this off. There you go.
Yeah. Nice. So this is a Polaroid.
Yeah.
It's come directly, because, you know, I have like this nice, it looks amazing, because I have this one, you know, very recent, and the quality is not that sharp, that the image that you just show me.
Yeah. Look at this.
Wow. This is insane. You can have a Polaroid just like in 5 seconds. Amazing. Nice.
Yeah, but they don't make film for this camera anymore. They stopped in 2016.
Okay, so you have the privilege.
I have 30 boxes left. That's it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it's I'm very sad about that. I've got to go to something different soon. So which it's very sad, unfortunately. But yeah, no, I've got like 2,000 or 3,000 Polaroids, and part of my project is the zine will be Polaroids of the shoot. So the zine's going to be cool. Like I know we're off subject here, but the zine's going to be here. If you don't share this with you, because you'll see what's coming out. You see those?
Yeah. Yes, I can see.
Okay. So it's called Back to Blue. I'll show you the cover later, but so it's going to be large. This would be very large, and this is 2 pages. So what's on the left is 1 page. What's on the right is the other page.
Nice.
So this is split, right?
Yeah.
So a contact sheet on the left, again circled in yellow, and then on the right is the image.
Where was that?
This is in Palm Springs.
Palm Springs. Nice. I love that.
Thank you. And see the little dinosaur here?
Yeah.
I like it. I like him.
I love it. Yeah, I saw that one on your page.
Yeah.
Nice.
Polaroids.
This is so 70s. This is the model that you love you love working with, Sarah? Amazing. I love this kind of makeup.
Yeah, this is her thumb did this makeup. She literally used her thumb to spread it on her face.
So I see some like very deep grain on that one, right?
Yeah, it zoomed in a little bit, so that's why you see it.
Okay.
So
Nice. Yeah, I love the one on the left.
okay.
Nice. What is the can you tell us what is the aperture on this one?
This is Pentax 6.7, and I took this at the same time as I took the
This one.
this one.
Yeah.
Same time. And this one was taken with a 45 millimeter lens, but at 45 on a 6.7 is 21 millimeter equivalent. So this, I might have used the same lens here. This might be 21, or it could be the 75, which is 35 equivalent. I can't remember.
And do you remember what like the aperture? It was above 8 for sure, right? It was like maybe 20.
No, it's a lot of sun, and it's portrait 800, so it's probably 8 or above. Yeah.
Because usually I prefer picture when the background is a little bit blurred, so you can have the portraits coming from the picture. But I have to say, on this one, I really like to see the background as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like this a lot too.
very nice. Nice. This is funny.
This one we changed a little bit, so it'll be different.
Nice. Amazing. Your favorites?
My favorite, it's also the cover.
Nice.
And then I've got a Polaroid of my daughter here.
Thank you for sharing. As an American artist working in Europe, how does your cultural background shape your work?
Oh, geez, I don't know. I don't know if it does differently. Does it? Maybe. I think maybe some of my style tastes are maybe different. But culturally, I don't know. I don't know that it changes a lot. I think I'm inspired by so many photographers that are European. I feel more European, to be completely honest. So even when I was in Texas, looking through Instagram feeds and people's work, I would resonate a lot with photographers from France or Italy or from the UK, for example, or Germany. So I don't know. I think I'm more French than I am American now. I don't know. That's I think we did a DNA test. I'm actually 65% French by DNA, I think. So I think I always belonged here. Yeah. So I think I always belonged here. I was just was born in the wrong continent.
And how's your French going?
J'apprends maintenant. Je suis très lentement.
Okay.
Very slow. I'm still learning.
Okay, cool.
So
Amazing. So you already said two. What are your favorite photographers? You can name 3. Like you said, Newton, Lindbergh.
yeah, and well, for sure. I mean, number one's got to be Rodney Smith.
Rodney Smith. So Rodney Smith. Nice.
I tell you, if you like his work,
Nice.
an interesting read is his blog. He's got a blog online that's just amazing to read. It's got some insane stories.
I love it.
Yeah.
Really cool.
He's very clever. And his stories are so good to read. They're so interesting. Like, look at the photograph of the girl on the plane. You see that one?
This one?
Yeah. So there's another version of this that's a better version, I think. But what's in the blog post that he has about this is that standing directly to the right of the plane, there's this huge, like 30-foot ladder with a guy standing on the top of the ladder at the very end, trying not to fall in the water, with a big leaf blower, blowing wind onto this girl just so that's got there. So there's always these crazy stories about the setup of this, because they're all taken with film with a Hasselblad square format. And he just went to crazy lengths to get these photographs, and I think that's really cool. He was also somebody who was inspired by locations. So he would go and hunt for locations. He would have somebody hunt for locations, and then they would take him around, and he would get out and say, yes, this is the location. And they're like, do you want to go look around for a while and get some ideas? And he's like, nope, I'll come tomorrow during the shoot, and what I feel, I feel. So, and he was like, kind of like that. And when I read that, I was like, yeah, that's kind of me too. Like, I can't pre-imagine a photograph ahead of time. Like, I just got to feel it. And you feel it based on the light, that time of day, and what you see and how you feel. And I don't want to be constrained. Other photographers that I admire and I've worked with or assisted even, they have this set of images they want to get, and they're all pre-framed, and they're exact ideas, and they've got a shot list of 10 images they have to get. And I don't really work that way. I can't pre-imagine something. I'm more free-flowing, which can be a little more stressful. You get on location and you're like, what are we going to do here? What feels good? And you've got to be in the right frame of mind. But if the location's inspiring, you sort of always come up with stuff. So I think as I've done this more and more and more, I'm more relaxed about that, and things just come to me. So I'm comfortable with the fact that something is going to hit me, and we'll take some images that work. But yeah, it's reading his blog, I think, was a lot of fun, because I'm like, I found some similarities in the way that he thinks and the way that I work. not a lot of it. I mean, the guy's brilliant. He's got brilliant work, and so I wish at some point I could reach that level. But it was fun to read his thought process for sure.
Amazing. So there's like you can subscribe to an email list, right?
Yeah, he passed away. He passed away, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't that long ago. It was a few years ago, but he had a lot of good stories. I don't know if they're still on there. Like, I think his estate is maybe editing things a little bit, but it's great to read. Some really crazy stories. Some really, really crazy stories. I remember a story. He was talking about models and stuff, and he's like, oh, he was shooting, and he had 2 models, and it was for a big production, big campaign. And one of the models, he really got along with the model. She was great. She was friendly. He loved working with her. The other model, he could not stand her. She was just terrible. She was awful. And 2 days later, he starts looking at the images, and the images come back, and the model he couldn't stand, all the images were stunning. They were great. And the model he loved and really enjoyed working with, hardly any of the images worked afterwards. And so he's like, you just don't know. So, I mean, he's got all these stories that I think make you think about your own work and your own process. And it's a good read. It's definitely a good read because he's got such an incredible past. So
yeah, that makes me want to ask a question for you. Do you have like a good memory about a photo shoot to share with us, and a very bad memory of a photo shoot to share? And the purpose of this is to make understand the young photographers that even if you are a professional, we are a professional, you can still sometimes do a photo shoot and you look at the image and you're like, oh, that didn't work this time.
Yeah, I mean, so a good one. There've been so many good ones. I've been lucky. The good ones tend to be when you really connect, and you're on the shoot, and you're making work that you love. Like you're just in love with the light, the subject, the styling. Everything is working. You're connected. As you're looking through the camera and you're framing the images, you're like, oh my God, I can't wait to see this image. Like, I'm so excited about this. And you're just like, it's like just, you're getting pumped with dopamine and adrenaline. And I mean, it takes hours to come down from such a high. I mean, you're on such a high because everything's working, and those are the shoots you live for, and they're great. And it doesn't happen all the time. It's like maybe 2 out of 10 times where you're in this crazy euphoric state where you're going like, I always know when you're on a shoot and you take 20 rolls of film, it's going to be killer. That's the way to know. Like, the more film I shoot, the more excited I was about what was in front of the camera, and the better it's going to be. So the good shoots are always the really expensive ones because the lab costs are going to be bad. The bad ones, I've had, there's bad ones where you don't make the connection, the subject's flat or dead, which happens sometimes. Like, I've worked with some people who are just sort of not there, and you're kind of wondering, like, why are we doing this? Like, why why are we shooting today? Because you're not here, you're not in the mood. And I mean, I do every effort I can. I'm jumping up and down and trying to crack jokes and make connections, and it's just not working. The one that sticks out though is I shot with a model in Houston, and we're shooting on the rooftop, and she was great. I'd worked with her before, and she was super. And I'm taking images, and I was pretty excited. It was a good shoot. And I get the film back, and I'm like, wow, none of these work. None of these images work. And this is like 8 years ago or so. And at that point, my work is starting to get better. I'm starting to get more confident in what I'm doing. I'm starting to feel more comfortable. And then this shoot comes along, and I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? What's happened here? And so I just had to sit with the images this is the engineer in me. I sat with the images for weeks, and I'm like, what isn't working? And I had to decompose the images and figure out what didn't work. And what came out of it was a lot of learning. I'm like, oh, okay. So this is what, for me, is going to make the subject stand out. And these are the things that you can't do. So I learned a lot. I learned a lot from that session because it's not that I took the opportunity to think about the work. I had to figure out what the hell I had done wrong to not be able to produce the quality of images I wanted in such a location.
Did you figure it out?
Yeah, I mean, so I was shooting in a location that had a lot of complexity in the background, and when that happens, you've got to find a way to. For me, at least, a lot of my photographs are simple to look at. That's the way I describe it. Where the person viewing the photograph doesn't have to work very hard to find the subject and to get tuned in with the subject. And I was shooting in a location where the background was just very busy. And I hadn't done a good job of separating the background from the subject. And for me, I think it came down to, well, you can separate it from depth of field, light, color, distance with depth of field. And I had done none of those things, so I was shooting wide angle. Lots of stuff was in focus. I was shooting it in color, and the colors they weren't separate enough that the subject jumped out. And even when I converted the black and white, the light difference between the subject and the background wasn't different enough. And so the subject, the model just melted into this background that was so busy. And so that taught me a lot. That taught me a lot. I started looking at things a lot differently after that. I started going through previous work that I had done, and I looked at images that of my own that I was like, okay, this image works for me. Like, I'm happier with this. Why does it work? And then I started looking at those things. I'm like, okay, it's because of, these things. And so I was able to look at the work and objectively look at it and say, why didn't this work? And how do I fix that in the future? So when I come up with this situation or scenario where I've got this sort of busy background, what do I do? How do I get around it? And again, you can do it with light, depth of field, color, geometry. There's all kinds of methods you can do, but you have to make a conscious effort to do that. You can't just go in there and blindly shoot with 35 millimeter wide open and expect that you're going to have separation of subject. So, and something else that I started looking at Rodney Smith's work, for example, and this is really interesting, is I looked at a lot of his photographs, and there's a lot of photographs that he has where the background is busy. It's really, really busy, but the photograph works, and it works because he's got a fog machine and he fogged out the busyness. Because I was looking at his work and I'm like, why is there always fog on so many of these images? And this is what it came to. Is like, oh wow.
Do you want to share with us the image you're talking about?
Of his?
Yeah, if you can.
Yeah, let me dig up one or two. So let me dig up this one. Yeah, this is one, for example. Let me see if I can find it on his Instagram account. So, and that's just one. It's another method of decluttering the background. So like here, this is a good example. So I guess that engineer in me, look at that image, for example. There, let's I'm switching back to. You see my screen, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's an example. And you see the fog, and without the fog, you see all the clutter of all these trees, all the lines.
Yeah.
But here, because of the fog, it takes everything and it puts this like sort of white sheet over things, and now she stands out. And she's also all in black.
Yeah.
Against a white background. So that's one example. Here's another one. And again, if you look back here, these are all these crazy trees with all these leaves and branches, so busy, but it's all fogged out, and here he stands in a cloud.
This is golden information that you're sharing right now, honestly.
It's stuff I didn't realize, and I want to go buy a fog machine. but it's he did this over and over again, and it took time to realize what he was doing and why he was doing it. And I mean, in other images here, he doesn't need to. Like here, what he's done is she is standing in a silhouette of white light. So she's separated because of the sky. And this is a technique I use all the time. It's where you're putting the subject in a clear background. They're separated out, and that's something that you do. But when you can't do that,
yeah,
you do this. you know? And so in this other location, I didn't have the opportunity, because I was shooting it from a certain standpoint or whatever else. And I just, I didn't use other tools that I could have, which is, I should have used depth of field or color or light. Here's another prime example. This is beautiful, right?
Amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, it's, but that was definitely, it was a very depressing week or so. Like I got the images back and I was in the floor, I was like, oh my God, I stink. I can't take an image. And I didn't know why they didn't work. And it was so demoralizing, so that was tough. That was probably one of the toughest ones. So was me. Yeah. This one, here's another one. See, he used this a lot.
Yeah.
Typically in forests, but,
that's so smart.
What a great trick, huh?
Yeah, such a great trick.
Yeah, here's another one. So, and again, if you imagine that all this is green behind her, it doesn't, it takes away.
Yeah.
But here, the image is relatively complex, but it's simple because the subject is carved out. And you as the viewer, you don't have to struggle finding the subject. Your eyes just go straight to her.
Yeah.
So, so that's something that you develop over time. I think that's something that you learn to do. And after a while, you just sort of see it. You just see it. There was a blog post that he had as well. I'm trying to find another post here he made, but there was, trying to find the image. Clearly I've studied his work, a little bit. I enjoyed reading his blog, I should say. So I remember the photographs that went along with certain blog posts. No, I'm not going to find the image now. That's okay. That's okay. Yeah. There was, let's see in here. Collecting archive. See keyword. See if I can find it. This one's funny. This is the point I want to get to. The image is funny, right? But somebody was interviewing him and they're like, they're asking him, was like, how did you come up with this? He's like, oh, I just, it was spur of the moment. We just came up with the idea on the location. And, the lady raises her hand in the audience. She's like, I'm sorry, I got to call bullshit. It's like, there's no way you had boxes and chairs and suits and Groucho Marx glasses and the hats there. Like you didn't just walk in the forest and take this image. He goes, well, no, I got a prop truck with a prop team. It's like, what is that? It's like, well, I got a truck full of stuff with people who are creative. I'm like, okay, that's my dream. How awesome would that be to drive up to a location and then you just got a truck full of stuff? Because props for me can be very powerful. I think they can be very, very useful. In some of the images I showed you of the recent work, I like to use, I've got maps and balls and chairs and, vintage caps and some things you can work around. So I think props can be interesting. The towel. So anyway, I'm just ranting now. I'm sorry. Not ranting. I'm just jabbering on.
So, okay, one last question because after I have to go on a meeting. What advice would you give to a young photographer?
Shoot a lot and study film, study light.
Study light. You
Study
said
light.
study film. Lapsus?
That's just, I like film. It's my preference. It doesn't have to be everybody's. I think everybody's going to get comfortable with their own medium. A lot of people, you can argue that it's easier to learn on digital because you can make mistakes and see the results really quick. And so I get that. I think film, if you learn film, it can take you to another level, I think. It did for me, I think. Like it definitely taught me things. I'll leave it at that. But I love film. But more than anything else, study light, study it in and out, learn every type of light, shoot in every type of light, find out what you like, and then learn to build a relationship with your subject and get creative, get crazy. One of the most things something I like to say on my shoots is like, it's really easy to take a beautiful image. Let's make something weird and creative and, let's try some stuff. And if it doesn't work, we throw the image away. Only you and I know. and we'll throw the image away. So if you build that trust relationship where you know you're not going to take a stupid image and the model's going to go, oh God, please don't post that somewhere. Never do that. But if you want to make something interesting, sometimes you have to make something stupid, or you have to go out there and do something wild. So it's like, hey, let's go create something stupid, and that's okay. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, we'll throw it away. It's okay. So, experiment, but just shoot a lot. Shoot. There's, time and experience is the best teacher. So, and then study your work, study your past work and see what works. Talk to people who you admire and ask them to critique your work. So I've
That's
asked,
what you did?
I've asked previous mentors, Amy Blakemore, I asked her often, and you don't have to agree with them. Something that works for them or doesn't work for them may work for you, and that's okay. But you hear their perspective and you go, okay, I appreciate that point of view. But a lot of times they'll bring up a point that you never thought. I talked to Ryan Muirhead a lot. I had him review a couple sets with me, and his insight was very useful for me. He'd look at some images and say, this image really works, and this is why it works for me, and I think you should lean into that. And then he would say this, and I didn't agree with that, and but I took some of the stuff he said to heart, and it's really helped. So yeah, find somebody that you admire, and if you can, spend some time with them, maybe that means you got to send them some money for some counseling hours. That's fine. I've mentored some other people. Then do it, but get the feedback and get a different perspective. It might change your view on things.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Carl.
Thanks for your time. It's nice talking to you.
Yeah, it was nice, very nice to talk to you. So I'm gonna put a link in the description so people can check your Instagram page and the blue book that you are releasing soon.
Thank you. I'm excited about that.
Amazing.